gives you wings.
Stephanie with the swing back with a double kill, 3 into the round. Juliana with 4 kills in the round.
And they just spam it!
And Kinsey has to hold it in the sight, make that even a third.
There to trade quickly. 2 players stacked up on the pillar, the Molly dealing so much damage, and the flash excellent as Katarina pinches around the corner with her team.
But the flash to the high left.
Alexis still has 1, but the flash from Unstable's better.
One enemy remaining.
Katarina's off the base.
Get it.
Yeah. I mean, you've earned it. Alexis is on the other side. Katarina on the swing, and it's a well-deserved ace.
Aggressively.
They were the fault line, the gravity well, floor on the flash. Alexis sets her up so well, but Katarina does it again.
So despite seeing Hannah for the first time, doesn't manage to get a shot off of it. Knife out again for Soto, and Hannah just swings around the corner and claims 2.
Still Molly's.
Exactly. There's that push forward. Right click classics. Still being won here by Shopify. And there's that backstab. Well done here towards the end. Well coordinated by Complexity. Win by Claudia. Oh, but we answer back for Shopify.
Trades in, 2v2.
Jazzikins though makes it a 2 versus 1, but KP picked up a rifle, actually had it from the beginning of the round, but couldn't save it there. By Claudia trying to clear out different corners at the end, so there's no pulse line utility. Jazzikins playing inside the smoke, capitalizing on the kill at the fireball. Dash open, beautiful paranoia that comes up.
Actually loops for Shopify. They're gonna get the spike into sight.
Yeah, but it only identifies 1 kill.
Wait!
And another was 2. The other swing comes down. Full strength Kara gets the kill. Spike still planted though. Still players alive to try to watch this. Spike are coming back in favor though of the attackers. Claudia with the wall bang onto Luri. Spike is halfway. Open it up to Claudia as well. Lights on Louis B. We're sticking on the spike. And she still gets the kill through the smoke.
Hello and welcome to Valorant Game Changers North America Series 2 presented by Verizon. We're on lower finals day, which means there's only one more spot in that grand finals, and it will be DSG and Complexity facing off for that opportunity. I'm Mimi, your host for today, and joining me on the desk, I have Bach and noted candle user, Wyatt River. How are you?
Great. Feeling good. Excited to watch a good old game of Valorant.
What kind of candles are we talking about here? Are we talking sticks, the jarred ones, homemade, tea lights?
Not homemade, but I have a wide array. I've got the sticks, I have the jars, the clementine and honey. That's my favorite
That's a
one
great
in the jar.
flavor.
That one
That
goes
sounds good.
stupid. That
You know
one
what
goes
What's it taste
hard.
like?
The
Does it
the only
taste
thing
like?
that
I don't snack on it, but
I don't think that's a fair question to be asking. The only thing that could taste as good as that candle might taste, though, is going to be this matchup today. Because we've had a crazy bracket thus far. That's what we call a transition. And Buck, I don't think anyone would have expected DSG and Complexity to be 2 of the 3 final teams. I mean, a 2-week-old team versus 6-month-old team for a shot in the grand finals.
You know, you could make an argument that maybe Complexity ending up here is more logical than DSG. I think that DSG was largely looked at as, you know, a team that would likely make an early exit from bracket play. Not the case. They beat XSET in an upset to start out the bracket. Then they take down FaZe. They go against V1 and they do what everyone else pretty much did against V1, which is unfortunately come up short. That's kind of expected. V1 is just incredibly talented and is a scary opponent to match up against when you're a team with such limited experience. But even still, it's an impressive run from DSG. Also, mind you, everyone that DSG has knocked down into the lower bracket also getting eliminated immediately afterwards. It's like they're tainted from the loss to DSG. So we'll see if DSG can fight their way back in. And then on the opposite end of that, Complexity is a team that has really fought for this. They have very much earned this position. A lot of roster changes, a lot of movement in the background, swapping the IGL roles. It feels like this team is the best of the Complexity rosters we've seen to date.
Yeah, 100%. Heading into this bracket, that first game against Shopify, it's like, all right, they get a solid 2-0 win. Maybe that was an off day for Shopify. Let's see how the rest of this is going to play out. And then in the lower bracket, Shopify, they started turning it around. Question marks raised again. Rematch. COL beat them for a second time. That's just the most firm proof, the evidence that you need to place them now in that upper echelon, just certifying as well the changing of the winds in the NA Game Changer scene. Finally, that top two that was cemented for so long being broken, and alongside DSG, this totally new roster with incredible natural synergy, massive mix-up in the scene. It's really exciting to see who's actually going to be able to now contend in the final.
And to focus in on this DSG squad, Bach, they are that team who came into this with, I think, only 2 names that were already well established in Game Changer. So what makes this run so astounding is that it really was this investment in fresh talent.
It really is a ragtag group. If you were to look at this roster, you'd probably be like, who? Katarina is definitely the one that stands out the most. Some time spent with version X. Actually played with some of the people who are playing today. But it doesn't look like that intimidating of a roster on paper. But then when you watch them play, they come in with some unique styles. Agent selections you've never seen before. Compositions that change on a whim. And as a result, they become somewhat unpredictable, and they sort of just play the way they want to play, and they don't really think about it too much. That's what makes them so fun to watch, is the fact that they basically are like, we're just here to do our own thing, and like, it's working. Cool. Who'da thunk? There's really no pressure on them whatsoever. They've already achieved more than I think most people would have expected.
Yeah, they've already broken through the barriers, but the thing is why they did get brought back down to earth versus version 1. They got stomped out in that game. I don't think anyone expected them to beat that team, but after an incredible run, they are going to have to rally back in the lower bracket if they want that rematch.
Yeah, 100%. We'll see if that ends up mentally affecting them at all, but I don't really think that it will, to be honest. We've already seen in some of their previous games where they've gone down and then they just came back swinging crazy. Like in their very first match, when it went to map 2 after a first map loss on the bind, and they just started running it down round after round. It's like, okay, this team, they have no problem recovering from what could be, what people could perceive as like there could be a mental struggle. No, that is not really the case. They've displayed the confidence over and over already. I don't think a loss to version 1 is going to shake that.
No, and the player who always seems to help when they need that recovery, when they need someone to step up throughout this event, Mark, has been Lazy Lion.
Lazy Lion kind of coming out of nowhere as well, really stepping up. But one of the players I also want to look at is Lace. And even though maybe they don't always overlap with the roles, these two players have had tremendous impact for their rosters, but in slightly different ways. Lazy Lion maybe a little bit more upfront with the way they play, whereas Lace is playing a little bit further back. And as a result, Lace ends up in so many clutch situations. Not at the top for win percentage, but at the top for total number of clutches and opportunities, just actually dominating in the clutch scenario. And we saw that yesterday in their match. Lace was so pivotal, and it wasn't even just the clutches. If you actually look, she went plus 30 across the series, which is unreal, with 37 assists. So it wasn't just like, yeah, I'm doing my own thing and like it's me and it's all me. There was also a lot of setup and working with their teammates as well. Lace has been so good. And on the flip side of that coin, Lazy Lion has been really good in the setup as well. Both of these players definitely approach the game somewhat differently, but still accomplish a similar task.
Yeah, I was blown away by every map that I was seeing from Lazy Lion. To me, totally an unknown quantity coming into this. And what they've been able to do, both impacting the team with the initiator play, the Sky has been superb. But individually, the crucial kills, the crucial rounds that Lazy Lion is winning out on their own for DSG is really, really impressive. There were so many close moments where you're down in those 2v3s, 2v2s, etc. in post plants, where Lazy Lion is just making the crucial play, hitting the crucial shot time and time again. Well-timed flashes to support. Like, genuinely the full package player that I certainly did not expect to see. When you're looking at this DSG roster, that is not a player that I was looking to become this breakout star. Yet for me, they truly are the breakout star of this tournament. Like, Lace has been on the come up for a bit and has always shown promise for sure. But Lazy Lion is just out of nowhere. Total breakout for me.
And that's the thing about Lace. She has been around for a while. She's been on this complexity team since the very beginning, the only surviving member of the initial roster of this squad. But they've finally made it. Already, it's been their top placement. They're in the top 3 here in Game Changers. And Bach, when we were talking last night to Jazzykins, she was just mentioning how much it means for this team. They've only been together for 6 months. They got a new coach. They've been working 8 hours every day to scrim. And it's all paying off in this GC.
Hard work does pay off. It's a very creative approach. I'd say that not many teams, although we say that the team they're playing against is one that does this, have a duelist as their IGL. But not only is she a duelist, she's a relatively young player. So by comparison to many of the teams in the region who have older players with more experience, they've put a lot of responsibility on Jazzy to be the leader for the team. And whatever they're doing is working. The team is clearly vibing at a higher level than we've seen from them in the past. It's allowed Lace to be in this position where she's winning these clutches. It's not just clutches, though. It's just everything in general is coming together for the team. They are hitting a level of play that we haven't seen from them in the past. They beat Shopify Rebellion twice. They had been beaten by Shopify Rebellion several times in the past, eliminating them from competition. Just to give you some context on how big this is, their journey through Game Changers last year was not great. They only made it to one main event. It was in Game Changers Series 3. And if I'm not mistaken, they got knocked into the lower bracket by who? Shopify Rebellion. In Game Changers Series 2, they lost to Shopify Rebellion in the qualifier stage. So clearly this team had some pressure on them to just break through that ceiling. And finally they have. And I really do put a lot of that on Jazzy as a leader. Whatever they did this switch, even though it's unconventional, it's working, and you can see her counterpart in Katarina, who's also a duelist, leading the team.
Yeah, it's Katarina that has been leading this DSG squad that's only been around for a couple weeks. And in a way, you could kind of expect that, given that she's the player with the most experience on the team at a higher level. But at the same time, you don't expect that at all from a star duelist. I mean, you certainly don't expect it from 2 star duelists in this head-to-head matchup that we've got today. But so much credit to her for what she's been able to do, being able to still find impact individually. You can see that by the numbers. But what she's been able to do with this team in such a short amount of time is absolutely stunning. They've looked so much better than you could ever expect on the teamwork front from such a young team.
Yeah, it's been such an impressive breakthrough for her and for honestly both these squads. It's very parallel storylines with the leaders. But today is a big moment for them. It'll be the first grand finals for whichever team ends up winning. And it's also the first best of 5 for both of these squads. For teams that are still, I think, really finding their form, DSG obviously more so than Complexity, this is going to be a really big test. And Bach, I'm wondering, how do you think that might affect it now, being this deep into a tournament, having the added pressures, and also going into a BO5?
I think one of the things that's helping DSG is that they have maybe a little bit more of a looser approach to every one of their maps. It's not to say that they don't have structure. They have some set pieces that we've seen from them, and even though they've maybe been clunky at times and they've been refined throughout maps that they've been playing live, they're definitely a little more fluid. I think that's the word I've used a lot. The duelists are kind of like, I'm going to play in Neon today. And they're like, cool, sounds great. And then the next day, they're like, I'm going to play Phoenix. And they're like, that's a totally different agent, the way that it plays, but we'll make it work. And in some sense, that allows them to just be free and play the game however they want. The concern is obviously, how deep is the map pool going to be for a team that's only been playing together for such a short period of time? Even Complexity, 6 months is not a lot of time to round out 5 maps in a pool. You know, sometimes you'll have 3, maybe 4 really good maps. And the concern, too, is the bans overlap with the best maps. You know, you have the permas for each team. They're the best maps for their opponent, which is good if you're the team coming in. But as a result, it means these teams are going to have to play in an expanded map pool on maps we haven't seen them even play yet.
It's going to be really interesting to see. But the veto is already ready, Wyatt. So we will get some answers as to where these teams want to head. And it does look like they are returning some of those bans.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, the point you just made, Bach, is absolutely accurate. First of all, like you said, both teams just banning the best map for the other. But as a new team going through a bracket with BO3s, DSG were able to squeak their good maps through over and over. I mean, you could see their opposing sides absolutely befuddled by their bind attack. Like, teams had no idea how to stop them at all. The best way to stop them, just ban the map. But those teams didn't have the knowledge yet because they haven't actually displayed enough of their pool. So, as you said, the question in this BO5, is their pool going to be deep enough? I've loved how they've been able to call their attack sides. I mean, matter of fact, they actually have an over 50% attack win rate on every single map that they've played as a team so far, which is pretty incredible. A lot of that, again, back to the calling from Katarina, that, you know, she's able to call this really methodical game, actually, despite often running double duelist. So that's one thing I'm certainly expecting to see here, you know, even as we just begin on Fracture. They either, on the map like Bind, they're hitting the gas, they're going into the sites at 300 miles an hour, or in the mid-round, Cat is just slowing everything down and really doing an effective job pulling the defenders.
Where things get interesting here is that Disguise has not played Fracture in the main event. They played it in the qualifier, so, you know, add a little bit of a grain of salt to that one. Whereas you also have Ascent, which Complexity has not played in the main event. We haven't seen these teams tested to the highest level of possible play. So some of these maps, we're not blind because we saw them play it in the qualifiers. But given the fact that DSG has regularly changed from qualifier to main event, and even inside the main event, the compositions and approaches, that means that they have the wild card factor. No one really knows what you're going to get. They play really weird compositions. I mean, look at the way they play Bind as a great example. Or, you know, sometimes the duelist just changing the duelist they're going to play on any given day. That is maybe their win condition. Their other win condition being, hey, you got to be better in your post plants. They were losing a lot of clutch rounds against V1 yesterday. I mean, the 2v5 that Noya was able to pull off where it ended up becoming a 1v3, that shouldn't happen, and DSG really needs to tighten up in order to prevent those kind of things from befuddling them here in the series. Again, the big concern, though, is 5 maps. It's a long series, and we just haven't seen them tested that long. Can they play across 5 maps? You know, because 3 maps even at times has proven to be a little bit difficult.
Yeah, it is really a difficult prospect for this team. And White, I want to ask you, with this tournament run now getting really deep for DSG, do you think that looseness, being really willing to change comps, go back and forth on things, could be something that'll be really successful later in the bracket? Or could it also be something that would get the better of them now that they're playing against this stronger and stronger competition?
I don't necessarily think that it's that much of a detriment because the team hasn't been around for long enough to even necessarily know what they are the best at, if that makes sense. So I actually don't, because most of the time they're just going to be playing it fast and loose anyway, right? It's not like they're going to have a ton of set plays and ideas that they're going to come into every single map with. It might even be better for them to just keep a very momentum-based loose structure at this point.
Yeah, and I mean, they have the comp to play fast and loose, Mark. They're going back to that double duelist that you mentioned they played in the Open Qualifier.
Yeah, it's an interesting one, too, because, you know, we see a lot of teams run Raze on this map. We see some teams rock Jet as well. It's not super common that we see teams run both. I do love the Cypher play. We talked about that yesterday in the lower match between Complexity and Shopify Rebellion. And it proved to be a little bit more valuable there for Shopify in the map, as I feel like KJ is maybe a little bit held back, kind of like restrained, just because the utility doesn't connect across the map the same way that Cypher's utility is basically viable everywhere. So it makes Cypher a little bit stronger on the attacking side, mostly with flank holding, which is maybe a little less important depending on the way that they decide to play. But with the double duelist approach on the one side, expect Disguise to play maybe a little bit faster in a pace of play. On the opposite end, they go with this double initiator look from Complexity, where they've got the Breach, they've got the Killjoy, the Breach and the KO, excuse me. So they've got the knife, they've got a lot of flash power as well. There's certainly a lot of potential to kind of forward everything towards Jazzy to create that tip of the spear that we love to see from teams in this map.
Yeah. For me, looking at DSG right now, they have been significantly better on attack than defense so far in this tournament, which is often the case with these new teams that have been put together. What I'm wondering here is, with them starting on attack, how many rounds is going to be enough that if their defense is poor compared to it, will they still be able to get over the finish line? Fracture has not been a good map for them so far in this tournament, really at all. So odds certainly against them, but not counting them out because, again, their attack sides have been phenomenal. And I'm expecting the calling still from Katarina here. Her ability to dictate the pace with how she calls on attack to be extremely influential. The problem, though, is I think they're going to need to get a lot of rounds on attack to bring this over the finish line.
I think map 1 is a big pace setter for this team. I think there is maybe a little bit of that we're just happy to be here effect that we always worry about with teams that make it this far that weren't expected to get here. The fear is whenever you have a team that is maybe a little less experienced collectively, that they take that early knock and they have a hard time recovering, especially at this point in the tournament in a best of 5 where you have to stretch out across a long series of maps. It's really hard to reset. You kind of need to see them build that momentum early. You're talking about the number of rounds they need to win. I feel like they got to have 7, maybe 8. I feel like they really need to get off to a good start just to rattle the cages of complexity, because the same sense they're in that position too. This is the best they've ever done at this event. There's a lot of pressure on them to succeed, to perform, to get into an upper final for the first time. DSG doesn't really have that pressure. They're just kind of like, no one thought we'd be here. We didn't even think we were going to be playing. Like 2 weeks ago, someone just was like, yo, you want to play? And we're like, cool, sounds good. We'll see you there. And here they are at the event now playing in a lower final for a chance in the upper final to play against one of the best teams in the region, potentially one of the best teams in the world in V1. So ultimately, I think you have 2 different teams coming into this game. And a key for me for DSG is really just coming out with a strong start, because complexity is going to be feeling that pressure, and it's going to be a whole lot harder to reset if DSG comes out with a big map 1 win.
Yeah, I'm sure there is more pressure added to complexity, but at the same time, this has already been their deepest run yet. They've already broken through, and I think it's about trying to find that balance of that pressure that's being applied to you, while also celebrating the success you've already had and not letting that pressure be too heavy on you. But it does look like the players are having a little bit of trouble getting into the server, but it seems like everyone has restarted, and we should be good to get into things. So it's map number 1 here in the lower final. There's only 1 spot remaining in the grands to face against version 1. Will it be DSG or will it be complexity? That's the question as we send things over to your casters, Rivington and Vansili.
Thank you so much, everybody at the desk. Indeed, now it's into the top 3 lure finals going on right now between DSG and Complexity. It's going to be a fun one. Yes, I do agree here what the desk has been saying, Rivington. Not too much pressure going on for DSG. Their goal was to get to the top 8. But now when you only need 1 more win to make it to the grand finals and 2 more wins to actually take it all, why not actually really put it all on the table, try it, and try to attain that goal of winning Game Changer Series 2?
You're taking everybody by surprise, right? There's pressure, but that pressure is more or less just of the run. You don't really feel like you have to prove anything right now. You are just showing what you have, and oh my God, it has been amazing from DSG. Now, Complexity showing yesterday, wowing everybody, taking down Shopify Rebellion. Are they going to get wow factored, or is Complexity going to run their own game? We saw them being, like the desk said, behind Jazzykins, running quite aggressively. Lace having like the series of a series. That was ridiculous. A lot of things were called on yesterday, I think, for Complexity to beat Shopify Rebellion, but now we know. Complexity is the real deal. This isn't a team that I think is being upsetting many unless it's going to be version 1 now. So, this game is going to be pretty fiery. I'm excited.
You do bring up a great point as well here, Riv, talking about how Lace was able to really step to the plate and just pop off in that last series. And that's something that we touched upon and Des touched upon throughout the tournament, that the roles have changed where she's not going to be focusing on IGLing as much anymore, and now could be let a little bit loose, where when she was first picked up by GX3, when Ali was still IGLing for the team, that's one of the reasons why she got picked up, because she was just basically a great aimer and a great fragger, and now she could bring this back up on this very map where, yes, despite them losing against Shopify Rebellion 11-13 yesterday, she was the one that was actually entering the most for Complexity with the support of Jazzykins, oddly enough, as a second entry on the raise. So I like this. But we'll talk more through it as we start the game now on the first map in this best out of 5. Complexity on the defensive half first, and DSG starting an attack.
It's like Complexity will still run that non-double duelist composition as a double duelist strategy when they can. Focusing on DSG here, though, towards drop. Everyone is satellite. As they get quickly detected, do they commit to the site? They do. Claudia's in there.
They definitely do, and Claudia's playing towards the back of the pillar. Raise for the support, just running through the smoke at the drop. Now the crossbar set up, and you start things off with a 4K and a frenzy. 4K and a flawless for Complexity.
Brimstone's a stubborn
Were those
ass.
frenzies yesterday? I feel like we saw Ghost in Classic.
Yeah.
Maybe it was. That's too deep. Raze, though, 4K on the frenzy, getting the Brimstone up in cash, getting that ultimate online pretty early, and that's going to be huge because Brimstone on Fracture can just absolutely dictate what space you're taking with the orbital strike, so that feels good. Staying with the frenzy, too, as the team buys up. Okay, there's a Guardian. It's just window
Right
shopping.
there.
Like, I have so much money. What do I spend it on? But red, that felt red. Everybody was there from Complexity to take down DSG. And now we'll have to see what they can come up with. What is these varying strats we see from DSG, right? There's a Reyna on some maps here. They like to bring flavor. Complexity's trying to shut that flavor down.
And it works.
Ooh.
The first with a bolt line and a dash forward to try to get the first picks here from Unstable. And as they go for the tap on the spike, another flash comes through and 2 nice shots comes out from Unstable to already turn things around. Katarina watching her rotation, hearing the footsteps, her right clicks to do a bit of damage as Claudia
Spike
answers
down,
right back. The
attacker spawn.
pistols so strong this time around for both teams as Jazzikins is in the site, playing the drop and catches Unstable off guard. Now things are a little bit of breathing room here as we have to spike down towards the attacker spawn at the south side, and the defenders are watching it with the better weapons, although...
Big.
Yep, that's players falling, that's weapons picked up.
Complexity getting thrifties yesterday as well. Really shutting down Shopify in some serious situations that killed momentum.
One enemy
So
remaining.
if they can prevent DSG from getting
30
thrifties
seconds
and that
left.
momentum to start up, it feels good.
Especially
Oh,
with
but
that.
they get thrifty.
Yeah. And we've seen some of those yesterday too. Back and
Yeah.
forth between Shopify and Complexity, and overall during the game changers, very good teams in these lower buy situations, and it started with just really individual efforts that they had there with that, as I mentioned before, the combination between Unstable and Lazy Lion. So a great way to kick things off for DSG as well. And this sets up
huge.
the stage for a very, very back and forth potential between these two teams for the lower finals.
And I think that's a bit of homework right there. Seeing how aggressive Complexity was yesterday, DSG is aware they need flank. They need to be watching for Claudia and prepared for everything. Prepared for this push, too.
Yeah. And thankfully, it's the paint shells that slows down DSG and gets them just ready throughout this smoke. Dash away, out support from Katarina, and you're just making it look so easy, just like apple pie. Only one player remaining for Claudia.
Spike.
DSG is looking for their own flawless as well.
Somebody out.
And the flank, always known to be Claudia.
ult's ready.
Let's see what the run over is here. So really nice confidence now from DSG, knowing that this could be a pretty aggressive anti-eco from Complexity. Still move forward as a team, look to grab a flawless here, and that's the pace they need to set at the beginning of this game.
And remember,
There you go.
yesterday, it was a very slow start or a very difficult half for Complexity on this very map against Shopify Rebellion. I think they only got like 3 rounds on defense, and a lot of them was just on the aggression that you currently have from Shopify Rebellion. On the execution towards the site for retakes were a little bit more difficult, where you're facing a team like DSG who, one, are a team that's going to play very loose, and 2, have double duelists to really try to plow through the sites, and you're hoping that the KO could actually nullify some of those abilities here that you have from the double duelists of DSG.
Will we get our first post plant or even spike plant that controls the round? Every one of these has been so aggressive, so much reactionary play and proactive play, to be honest. This orb farming around the map has actually been pretty big for DSG, but also we see Complexity trying to do the same. A little spot out. DSG are gaining a lot of space. I think we talked about Complexity doing this yesterday. The space they gain, they get all this info, and they can choose to activate from that much closer or reset and do it on the other side. Lace may figure him out here, though, with some good timing.
Yeah, Complexity again looking to be a little bit more reactive, at least on the A side now, pivoting the Brimstone towards B. There's more players there. Lace is on the top of the staircase in the back of the site. Showstopper, coming out, and then nice slowing some players down towards Heaven, but it's still the deathfall of DSG moving up towards the Heaven. The orbital strike, catching 2 from Raze, and even a hat trick to their name. And all of that push nullified from the Showstopper as DSG was trying to come up towards Heaven. And Complexity, they tie up the game immediately.
Those early, and that hit, Race just ran over, stim-packed into Halls and grabbed an orb to give compliment to all of the orbs she picked up on that frenzy, on the pistol round. So again, we see that orbital strike actually coming into play very early to stop the momentum of DSG. They're a great little back and forth on the map, and it looks like they're going to hit this arcade strategy once again. Another gun round coming in due to our eco.
Yeah.
And this should even out the
Always
money.
missed. Thankfully, it sort of missed because you saw a lot of players from DSG just ADSing down to watch on the top of that smoke. And with that said, though, DSG is switching gears, moving very aggressively towards the A side, spotted by an alarm bot, but finally held back as the Brimstone Raze was able to come across and put the smoke towards main. So you fight towards Sands. It's a 2 for 2. The spike's still up, and yeah, we're basically pinned towards the back here. Look at Jazzikid's position. Headshot there onto Unstable. Pain shells back. Meanwhile, there's a late lurk happening, and it seems Jazzikid's might be ready for this one. Nope, maybe not. She'll get back stabbed.
Hannah, this timing, yeah.
Enemy remaining.
Oh my word!
Yeah, I don't know if like she heard the last footstep there because you saw that flank turn really quickly behind. As then we pin in on the last player, Mizu falls, and Complexity retake the lead here in this first map.
One enemy remaining.
There's going to be a read on that trap they put behind them now to be a little bit safer. Complexity did a great job, I think, of corralling DSG into A halls there. It seemed like DSG wanted to fight through the door, but then losing too many with just, there were firing squads on both sides when that door opened. These teams are just going right at each other. It's awesome to see. Here's a stim pack through arcade. This one's going to be on Unstable. Oh.
Gets stopped
Just a
right
moment.
away.
Just a moment.
And that's what we're
We'll be
talking
back
about, right?
online.
We need that coming out from the 9th from Lace to just cancel out the amount of utility that's coming out from DSG and how quick they could be.
Yeah. Now Bucky to hold that tower. So Unstable can't really leave tower. The rest of the team's going to need to get there to bring this Vandal support up. And the rest of the weapons that they do have. They've pushed back Complexity really well here, but this post-plant retake, I think, is going to be a swarm, and they'll have to be ready for all of this Complexity utility. Good positioning so far for DSG. Rolling Thunder should be able to buy enough time.
Oh, yeah, definitely. And it's pretty much a direct counter, maybe to even the lockdown that could really come in towards the site. That's why you see Complexity really fighting it, trying to get a better position. It's up towards the generator. And there you go. It covers pretty much all of that site except for Heaven. So you go Rolling Thunder right here, moving back towards the Heaven site. Even on the orbital strike on the attack, that gets stopped right away. So back to a 5 versus 5. Hannah watching the flank. The camera's coming up too as Jazzikins is about to head up, but against a 2 versus 1 in the front of tree. Loses that fight as Complexity are moving towards the B site though. Big flash coming across. 4 and 5 players instantly falling down for DSG as a retake looked really clean. Forced the back of the B site. And we have a 4-2 scoreline for Complexity now.
The firepower from Complexity coming there. Claudia getting the stun headshot onto Lazy Lion, entering tower. That was absurd. And the right play from DSG. Rolling Thunder hit. Yeah, just
One enemy remaining.
boop, stun, bop. Get out of here. Rolling Thunder hit. Lockdown destroyed. And Complexity could not be stopped there. We do get our plant, and we do get the defuse there, Vansili. So we're seeing how these post plants are working again. Complexity on that rush. Katarina.
Ooh. Almost transferred on the second one too. Really nice play for the Satchel on the timing. And as they have this lower buy, they've been getting so much value out of the first 5 seconds of the duelist, catching players off guard. Potentially another Thrifty, because you have 3 players that have cracked in here with these shares. Raze struggling a little bit on these shots here, might give an advantage, but here's the support on the other end. So it narrows things down. Lazy Lion with the wall banger. Instantly reloads. Hot flash as the door opens. It doesn't affect Lazy Lion, who's just trying to isolate the last two players. Slowly closing in here from Complexity. As they reposition now towards Sands. Face to face now against Claudia. Now things are looking good. Finally, we mentioned a slow start, Riv, from Complexity on this map on defense yesterday. It looks a lot better now.
And they're bringing the offense to their defense. Even this trade here, back coming Kara to fly out of door after you think that's done. That's the second round we've had these teams just viciously go at each other at door. And from B, you have Jazzykins flying out almost every round, right? They're kind of watching the north side, but Complexity is getting very aggressive here, and what it's doing is it's forcing DSG's hand a little bit to say you're executing your strat you have on plan, or you're calling the mid-round audible, and Complexity just has one gear right now, it seems.
Yeah, and they definitely look like they are the team that's really playing attack pretty much, right? DSG are trying to do a little bit of these a little bit of the split map controls, but when it comes down to the retakes that Complexity are currently doing towards these sites, it looks a lot better than it did before, and it really seems that they are the ones that are pressing and are really catching DSG off positionings on these post plants. And that's also the difficult thing of playing the post plant with a composition like DSG. You have a little bit less flashes, you have a little bit less initiation support here to keep your players back within the sites, or at least in to a certain condition where you can watch the spike.
That's a great point. Yeah, you don't have that normal utility you have to respect, right? Once you kind of dodge the grenade, you know there's nothing on the ground. You have to look for it, etc., etc. It's a great point. Complexity feels pretty confident to rush right in. Jazzykins again, control. Now this control that was at B, Jazzykins tried to solo hold halls.
It's working out.
There's the help.
So good here, or even paint shells to come on the other end. It's landing on the ground, and it lands on two. What a nice little trap play being done. Yeah, from the orbital strike too. So
I got the spike.
that hurts. That's a bad start.
And it's a gun round.
Yeah.
Right? It's a round. DSG is trying to formulate a plan, get this money back online, and they haven't really even seen a player of Complexity yet.
Yeah.
Due to the damage, due to the utility. Now up to Unstable and Hannah. Moving forward here. It's going to have to be a dry shot. No, I mean, you can dash, but we're not dash. You just updraft.
Yeah. But still difficult no matter what. Jazzykins staying alive here. Could even use out the showstopper for the retake. So it's looking pretty grim here for DSG to try to get this round back in their favor, especially now with those 2 kills that Jazzykins had with the paint shells. Already got another one refreshed. Mind you, all of that not only was with the orbital strike, but with the fault line that was thrown out by Kara at the same time. Here is that push for Hana to try to change it back in their favor, but to no avail. Jazzykins with the 3rd paint shells in a round pretty much, and it's 6 for Complexity.
None of my stuff has not functioned yet.
Showstopper online there, 6 for Complexity. And the aggression continues to stop DSG in their tracks. I don't know how Complexity continues to just choose that right spot where the majority of DSG is, but it seems like they have it every round. This little trio we saw making a ruckus at A for Complexity, they're going to split up a bit now towards that satellite area. Jazzykins and Kara in this duo usually don't stop going forward. They may be looking to get Kara the orb here and then back, because that farming has been on the menu for orbs so far. And it's going to be a low-buy round here, so we'll see how DSG walks this one out, and if Hannah can be a big, important role here in the flank.
You see, even from Complexity, they're playing a little bit more safe, even trying to push together first and clearing up towards that dish before you want to try to do anything else. They continue to pivot forward. This camera, if it's going to get popped up by Hannah, is going to see everything, which will allow DSG to really set themselves up in a better place here for the post plant. That's Unstable.
The turn. The timing is good.
And Unstable with that one, so that's where you needed that utility to come back, and that's 2 dropping once again. So very well done for Unstable, catching off the rotations that you had for Complexity, overextending towards the top, and another Sheriff.
Headshot?
A second thrifty potential for DSG to get the 3rd round on this first map. There's only 2 players left. Jump is missed. Lace drops on the ground. Yeah, just everything in your favor right now. Flash deploy is already on there. Aftershock 2 on the other end. It's impossible here for Claudia, who will also potentially just die to the spike, if not by anything else. And it's by the gun of Hannah. Yeah, man, these thrifties are looking pretty good for DSG.
We got our first spike explosion there, I think, too. First lock hole on a post plant. DSG feels good. And I feel like DSG used a lot of knowledge from the past rounds and learned a lot on this round because they've been seeing aggressive pushes. They finally got the other side of that aggressive push and said, well, they're probably still pushing us. That's unstable. Finding the back of 2 members of Complexity who are already pushed up trying to get into enemy line.
Yeah.
So really well played by DSG to consider what's been happening every round and how Complexity's getting this.
So Northside
They're
crunch.
going aggressive again, though.
0.2 with the showstopper from behind, and that is a beautiful pinch. Instantly, we have a 5 versus 2. And Kara turns around to drop the last 2 players of DSG. What a nice little round that you saw there.
And then what do? After you consider all that aggression and try to play around it, they throw it right back in your face. That was a very fast round.
Yeah,
Wow.
A little bit of a mix-up that you saw here from Complexity as well. So why mention it on the desk? Katarina's doing a very good job where from time to time the double duelists are getting early space, but if not, could slow it down if they want to, which resulted in that thrifty that you saw before. The Complexity now trying to death on the fly, seeing the slower pace. Let's brute force it and pinch towards the north side. Gets it out here with the showstopper, and you'll play the retake however you want it because you have the Rolling Thunder available for Kara. So all of this looking pretty good. Complexity looking very strong on the defensive side of Fracture. ADSing now is Raze spawning Katarina in this face front head first duel. And only some damage comes in onto Raze, slowing things down here, throwing a smoke.
Lock in sight.
Split is looking to happen towards Heaven. It was a nice little flash, and Claudia slows it down with the Nano Swarm, and that's just DSG working the map. Like, look at them. All 4 quadrants are being occupied by DSG, keeping Complexity guessing, and that's why all 4 players of them are still towards the spawn. They can't really react to any type of stacks yet.
Yes, permanent lean positioning here for Complexity, and it looks like DSG may have them sorted out as they come back to site. They need to get the smokes down to get in. It looks like we could get another post plant here.
And a delay coming out. Rolling Thunder out from Kara. And now that might be a pivot right back towards this B side, and it's exactly what's happening. There's still Katarina waiting at the top of the B side, trying to punish the rotate coming out from Claudia. So they know that Claudia's somewhere there. Oh yeah, the rotation's still pretty fast here from A to B from the defensive hat side, and that's the ADS. A double kill there from Katarina. But Claudia's still holding the top. Locked down, about to get backstabbed, and she gets picked off here by Lazy Lion. Only 1 more player remaining on the defense. Even on top of that, potentially, you almost saw there the orbital strike coming down, and the spike just got planted in the nick of time.
Knowledge of Jazzykins. 1v3, I should say. Healthy players for DSG.
Well, a nice little pivot towards the end, and it all came down to, I mean, we've seen some Sentinels plays coming out from these type of compositions on the attack that's getting a lot of value, but we've seen a lot of these coming out from DSG where it's not necessarily on Hannah's responsibility to be the lurk player and to cut the rotates. This is something that both Katarina and Unstable could do in these roles. We've seen this type of playstyle as well on Pearl, which will be the next map that we see here for DSG. And that really threw Complexity for a loop.
It's like, who's where? You're right. They had all the quadrants guarded.
Yep.
Great protection on the map. This time they're just going to play the south side. A quick sand play.
My ult's ready.
Almost looks like non-committal just yet until they see a kill. Get what they want. As the spike holds off behind this alarm bot until site's clear.
It's looking pretty clear so far. Rolling Thunder is available, not even used. Orbital strikes for the pulse plant. DSG's potential of the success of the round, despite them losing a player early, could still be in a good spot. There's that Rolling Thunder to slow things down for a bit. Even a fragment doesn't really hit her. And rather there, Hannah with that lurk. We got a third player looking around, and it's Hannah this time around to salvage the rounds for
Switching
DSG
sides.
as they get 5.
Those last 2 conditioning rounds by DSG were so nice. Playing it fast, but a little slow in some cases until they executed back and forth on the map. So Complexity is now trained to almost react to everything. And Hannah, of all the rounds, that final one pushes 5x faster than usual on that flank and catches the back of everyone. Hannah's positioning there had usually been quite slow, more to catch audio. But within the last few rounds, they were able to formulate that plan. Really cool stuff by DSG. And they just actually swept the rug out from both of those last 2. And that's the way you want to start the second half. Where do they go? What do they do? Complexity looks for B here. Just leaving Claudia on that north side. Frenzy for unstable. Good utility for Lazy Lion if they need to get the retake in. And it looks like DSG is playing back enough for that retake.
Definitely looking for the retaker, DSG, and
Ooh.
the pivot's going back for Complexity, making the initiation, making the initial noise towards this B site. But this pivot back towards A, there's no more smokes available for Raze, and that forces even DSG to even backpedal back towards the A site. And all of this is a ruse to try to capitalize on an arcade hit. They're still unstable, waiting right there at the top of Heaven.
You still have the breach util, so that the Heaven hit is still really viable here if they want it. Claudia drops Katarina on the lurk.
But now still 2 players are towards this A side. Made that only 1 rather on the B side. That's unstable on the top of
Spike
Heaven.
down, B.
Couldn't get the frenzy on a second kill like Raze did on that previous half. Now Plant will come down. Easy one for Complexity. Doesn't really care to be affected by the fault line as Lace stays within her position towards this B site. And Complexity have a perfect crossfire setup with a flank on top of that. Lazy Lion, as they push forward, are looking for a flash for a peek. It's beautiful for Hannah, but then long range on that lurk we talked before. Claudia and Lace picks up the last 2, and that's Complexity with both pistols so far in this best of 5.
Complexity with the mind games on that pistol. Practically all the way in sight, leaves sight, and then, what was this? A 2 approach A halls, 1 runs away, and that's how Claudia got that that flank kill. Kind of messing with the audio there. You gotta love to see those plays. Making the footsteps seem like they have run away. So, now 8-5 here. Let's start off. Let's see if DSG can keep these going. Bring it back with another thrifty.
It could happen.
It could happen.
The perfect stack so far. Maybe not all 5, but at least there are some cheeky angles that we're taking with the camera too. There's there at the top. There's a stun that you just saw that came across here on the attack. There's a nice shot from Katarina at the bottom of the A site though.
Last
And
player
instantly,
standing.
Katarina becomes the last person standing.
Ace.
Got the headshot onto Takara, but couldn't get the backstab onto Raze to make the chances happen for that thrifty. Complexity are able to string at least finally the second round after winning the pistol.
Yeah, it has seemed troublesome for them. Good trades here overall. The positioning was just right for DSG, but you get those extra angles. Right? I feel like if Katarina actually had the 1v1v1, that is a different story. But that second drop in, a little Batman play coming in. 9-5 here as we get into that bonus. Some short buy or smaller buys here from Complexity as they move in. But still, those Bulldogs to be on the front of the line.
The classic Phantom through the smokes with some trap kills. On the top of the generator though, unstable. They're gonna get the first contact, dashing away after getting the first blood. Waiting for this trips to happen. They actually get broken. Force in front of the B side. Spike goes down. Null command available for Lace. Run the clock down if they want to here on the top of B Heaven. Starts it right away, and Katarina is hunting for it.
I think Katarina saw that.
Not it just pulses towards Heaven anyways.
Yeah, true. We have that positioning.
Nano Swarm delays. There's that first kill from Laze to pinch from behind. Delays long enough. And that, meanwhile, allows 2 Nano Swords, but the molly missed. At least Raze gets the kill there with the Bulldog, but Unstable's taking on that spike. Hannah with the headshot, it's over right there because of a miss molly. They had everything else so perfectly for Complexity, except for that single molly that would have wasted the clock.
Oh my gosh, Complexity having a lot of these rounds be successful yesterday, which is why they secured the win. Not working here. DSG coming up, perseverance, a little bit of a body block, and a missed molly. They're gonna take that nice.
This goes here.
That's a huge one. It is the bonus for Complexity, and they were losing a bit on the way in. It kind of seemed like a power of bodies. We had enough numbers to get the spike through once they did make it, but yeah, DSG still wanted that round, needed that round to come through. And this one is a big round. Stop Complexity from getting to double digits and break that economy finally.
Yeah. So on either ends, losing around here for DSG, Lazy Lion, they're only gonna be the only one.
Here.
It will have some sort of a broken buy potentially with Mizu actually.
Potential danger here. Good job by DSG to take base.
Piece of this.
Talked about the first
the
bloods.
Lace.
The first bloods with Lace on this KO. On Fracture, and playing that solo on top of that, keeping players anchored from DSG while Complexity are working towards his B side. Stop by smoke.
I love the idea. DSG cuts off an avenue. They have more information on Complexity, but another answer from Complexity. They just do not seem to miss right now.
Yeah.
And they're going to bring it back to that numbers down position they suspect today. With this rotation coming in now from Claudia.
0 point. Counter flash for both ends.
30 seconds left.
Bomb buddy out.
And looks like with 30 seconds left, a slowdown from the aftershock on a defense here being thrown by Lazy Lion, allowing their teammates to rotate back towards the A site. All three of them now holding inside the area with a perfect crossfire. Make that even 3 kills for Lazy Lion. Right there in the quad, the backstab,
Strike
the
down
ace
A.
available in the cards.
Let's go.
10 seconds left.
This Lazy Lion, they go for the reload, the jump up, and the miss.
You're in my way.
Comes
You're in
up
my
here,
way.
picked up by Claudia. And that's still around for DSG.
You gotta blame that on Mizu. Misu's like, I'm sorry, I'm trying to crouch, I'm trying to get out of the way, you can do it. And then eventually he's like, all right, I'll get a little movement speed out of my knife, and approaches that last kill knife out. Yeah, but Complexity being proactive. I'm sorry, DSG being proactive here. Looking to grab that A Hall's control. They did lose a member, but but they hold down the site even better. Understanding there was no movement. They have A locked down by the Killjoy, or B by the Killjoy utility, sorry, and they held the positions well. DSG getting those two and finally breaking that economy here second half.
It results in a half buy, a stinger rush from 3 players.
My
Stable
ult's
taking their
Stable.
time to just really pinpoint which target they want.
Spike down B.
Now you have the neural theft available after those 2 kills. Not really need it because you spotted one of those 2 players being laced on the top of the B heaven, and the last one was spotted in front of the B main. Picked off by Unstable. Almost a flawless. But DSG
Little
are
Foxy
1
9
round away
cosplay.
from tying things up here.
Yeah. How do you want to start the second half on your opponent's pick? Just like this. Great job by DSG recuperating on that bonus to bring 3 in a row. Now Unstable with the operator, which I feel like it's either going to make Complexity go really quick or really slow to be afraid of where this operator might be. Unstable's no one to mess with once that gun comes out. So they may do some searching here to figure out how to avoid that. It's like a 3-2 on B, though.
That's it. And that difficult part is that ops moving forward, but there's no KO to try to scan out Unstable. So that'll give him an opportunity, even if there's a flash or whatever, to still re-peek, play aggressively, and dash away. Well, as they overextended, though, to watch towards the underpass, thinking that we're going to push out here from the underpass. Unstable gets punished.
Bomb buddy out.
It was a bit of that patience. But now they go.
At least the lockdown was destroyed here by the orbital strike, but there's still one available on the attack. Showstopper out from Katarina, doesn't land the shot. Lace lines up 2 kills as Katarina landed.
Spike down B.
Lazy Lion, after the action ensues, is now the last player standing as they're up against Raze and Lace.
One enemy
Hit by the
remaining.
knife, but no surprise there. The surprise actually came in from Raze. was
So
looking down
doable.
towards the B site. Spike still being watched here by Lazy Lion, as Lace is the one that has to press forward. Lazy Lion seems comfortable to want to give that up here to get the element of surprise, and they do just that. Walking back up here towards the arcade, spots Lace, who was watching towards the wrong angle, and Lazy Lion gets a Red Bull clutch to tie up the game 9-9.
An incredible clutch. The pressure to be going up against Lazy Lion, or I'm sorry, to Lace versus Lazy Lion in a 1v1. Ooh, yeah, you know the adrenaline is pumping. And there was a 2v. Still had to get one. And then if communicated by the team, may have lessened the pressure. The damage was done to Lace. Focus on the shot. Didn't reload at 7 bullets because Lazy Lion... king of the round.
Yeah.
Easy peasy. 9-9 as Complexity calls a timeout here to slow down DSG's run.
And that's the thing, too. It's this timeout, I feel finally it was needed. Maybe a little bit earlier would have been nice here because those rounds have been strung by DSG. I feel, as you're looking at the history right now, definitely now, since that molly that missed by Raze. The fuse allowed here DSG to string 4 rounds together to tie up this map.
You think about it, actually, right? DSG has just been able to roll over that momentum. And the round that did win, now that Complexity have guns, don't seem to be gaining Complexity any frags either. DSG's making it out of each round pretty unscathed, maybe having to buy armor again. So that's helping huge, a big boon for them to keep this progress. Operator still for unstable.
Flashbang.
That's going to be watching one side, and a very big retake position here from DSG as Complexity on the W key for this one. Showstoppers going to push him back as well, so there's a lot of delay for this round here, Complexity.
So far, it's still debating, still deciding to see if we want to use it, though. It seems as though DSG are okay with giving up the sites for Complexity to move through. Blade Storm now out early for Unstable, as they're going to be the one trying to move back for the retake with the rest of the team. Look at the amount of utility that's coming out. Something that we actually praised Complexity on their defense. This time around, it's DSG that does it. Spikes down for the second time. Claudia pushing forward, gets a dink long range, but no kill onto Lazy Lion. Showstopper, a Rosa unfortunately there, as it gets denied by Katarina. And Lace is about to get backstabbed. And it's Misu instead, pushing forward. Shorty kill. Silver lining, we get a plant. But at the end of the day, it's DSG back in the lead.
Flawless.
That's kind of scary right there. So we saw that DSG's post plan for attack wasn't too great. You don't have this utility as a retake stopper. But when they retake now from defense, that is brutal. Aftershocks, fault lines, nades coming in. Katarina's usually getting more than one nade in a round. And can we mention that Lazy Lion just ended the last round with 2 kills and started the last 2 rounds with 2 kills and started the last round with 3 kills? What the heck?
Yeah.
Lazy Lion going off right now.
They're definitely stepping up
inside
here.
the park ace there.
Yeah, on defense for sure. Frag distribution even on both ends. All this through the defensive side. Boombot giving false information, thinking that nobody was there, but at least the trade was a drop off. Hannah playing inside of the smoke. It's definitely going to catch one off guard. There's that backstab. But Ray still manages to get the kill, though, onto Lazy Lion. Masses to be a 2 versus 2. Spike down out in the open. Flash down to allow the attackers to push out. On top of the staircase, Misu's playing the off angle. The swing back out. Trades are perfect on both ends. The tap on the spike to push Hannah out. And Hannah still manages to win that duel. And DSG are 2 rounds away here of winning the first map on Complexity's map pick in his best of 5.
Disguised is feeling it right now. They were not winning mostly the trades, the 1v1s previously in first half, and then a little bit of the second part of the first half. The aim is on now. The confidence in the swings, the trades here, DSG is showing that it is not just abilities that they're able to set up these positions with, but also the firepower coming from the players alone. See if they can get a play going here as we start off round 21, 11-9. DSG very close to taking Complexity's fracture. Looks like it could be over to B to make this a possibility for the round for Complexity.
You are powerless.
Oh, I love this. Look how far we're away, too. Null command to play against the Cypher. Well, the Cypher playing against the Null command, rather, playing all the way across the other map. So Camera gets all of this information. The players are playing passive, spamming through the smoke. A kill comes in, a second one there from Misu. And now you have a Rolling Thunder for the retake, which already comes out. It actually hits Jazzikins on the top of the B site. Misu trying to push forward. The backstab on Takaro is still looking out towards the B side. As Unstable support coming out once again from Lazy Lion. Only one more player remaining. A Flawless about to come out, and they will get it. DSG with a beautiful read against Complexity on that round. And they're now at that point.
And Mind on the victory. Misu has delivered the half defuse to bring up the orbital strike. We'll have dueling orbital strikes this round, guaranteed to see it. I think we get another out of tower, very safe play here coming from Disguised. What a run! Look at the second half there. Even rounds, they're forced to get into the post plant to defuse. Round 16, they time out Complexity because they didn't have an answer for the round. Absurd stuff right now.
Satchel out.
Especially in the strength we're seeing Complexity and Disguised Toast is rising to the occasion here. They're Disguised, I should say, and Toast. Great job.
Well, at least he's watch partying, right? So he's there, waking up again in the early mornings, watch partying the game. And that's a great start now to seal the deal. The fate of Complexity on the first map. Cage to run away. Nice utility being used by Hannah to fall back. Spike is down out in the open. And how do you fight this back? Still an orbital strike. So that's the hopium that we have here for Complexity to take the round back in their favor.
What are the options? Claudia is still going to be on that flank. They've already found him.
Hannah still on the first contact, but there's that backstab not being cleared at first.
3v3.
Yeah, trade instant. Again, orbital strike still available.
Open up the sky.
Now pushes two players behind as we cross over here. Katarina maybe trying to get a timing through the smoke. Claudia on a 1 versus 1 in the front of the B site, and it's a double push with the defenders. Big flash now, but it blinds Misu, and that allows Claudia to line up 2, but only gets 1. Raise on a 2 versus 1 will not happen. Lazy Line with the laser beam, and DSG upset Complexity on the first map.
All right, DSG's ability to read what Complexity wanted to do in the second half, really, really awesome to see. Even in just the last moment there. Remember I said nobody's going to be tower here, the orbital strikes are live? That's the orbital strike Complexity tried to use to secure positioning. Yeah, they still get tower, but then the answer from DSG, push around. Oh, there's Claudia, has to be a solo player, go for the trade. Like the instance, the protocols they were quickly coming up with on the side of DSG definitely deserve them that map, and that was Complexity's pick for Fracture.
So difficult for Complexity to do, especially when the spike is down out in the open and you're trying to regain that positioning. But yeah, it seems as though it's going to be a lot more difficult for DSG to play the defense with this double duelist. And with the looks of it, when Complexity had such a great start on their defensive half, night and day for what we saw against Shopify Rebellion yesterday, unfortunately, they now fall flat on the attack. So couldn't put 2 and 2 together to have a whole full goal, a full good map here for Complexity on the first one. They fall, they get upset on the first one, and now it's time to focus on Pearl, which will happen after this break.